Did I hit it? Hey, everybody. Super here to have my friend Jorge and my friend Hope here to talk with us today about real estate market in 2024, what to expect if you are a buyer, what to expect if you are a seller, and what agents should be doing to create business in 2024. So thank y'all for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Of
Thanks for
course.
having us.
Absolutely. Always. Hope you're like my adopted daughter, Remax daughter, and I always love to see you. Or hey, you're just like my best friend. So it's fabulous. I get a lot of shit for being best friends with Jorge, but I love you and I love our friendship. So
Yeah.
talk to me about what you're seeing in 2024 and what you think the market's going to do. Seems like we're in another shift.
Jorge, do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Sure. Yeah. So far this year, I mean, we have seen a lot of activity. The last couple 6 months of of 2023 were certainly quieter than the beginning of 2023. But 2024 rolled around, and I always tell people right after Martin Luther King weekend, you kind of expect a big boom. The holidays are over. The new year's back, kids are back in school, so people really get their priorities reshifted and refocused. And it has really been nonstop as far as the amount of people that have been calling to list their homes for sale and starting their searches back up. Definitely a good amount of buyers that had maybe put things on pause last year because of interest rates or affordability, and then have kind of thought, well, you know what, I need to jump on it now, because they did see rates decrease a little bit. And now, while the interest rates are a little bit volatile at times, I do think that the demand for the buyers is there again.
No, I agree. So you're saying you've seen an increase since the first quarter, same time last year. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I had 4 buyers this weekend. That's a lot. So I'm excited, and I 100% agree. And I think buyers are now, instead of focusing on interest rates, they're focusing on what their payments are going to be.
Correct.
Right? Can they afford those payments? I think that's a much smarter tactic to take than just focusing on rates, because they are volatile.
100%, because if you're able to budget to properly afford your monthly payment now, then in the future, your monthly payment should only hopefully decrease if you were to refinance. I mean, other factors, taxes or insurances are out of your control, but the interest rate, whenever you are able to refinance, for sure would be able to help. I have one of my preferred mortgage lenders that anybody that had closed last year or even up and through this year still working on it, that you're able to refinance for free.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot
It's a
of
huge
that too.
incentive for buyers to be able to say, okay, if we can afford this and really keep things in check, then it should only hopefully get better for the future.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. What are you seeing, Hope?
Very similar. I don't know if you guys saw the stat. I think it was in an email that Jared James sent out, but I think the stat was 72% of home buyers put their home search on hold in 2023, largely due to interest rates. I think for me, it was almost like immediately after the new year, things started to shift. And listings that had been sitting on the market for a while, average showings went from 1 to 2 per week to more like 8 to 10 per week. And I think that is a huge indicator right there.
Amen. I agree with you. And we weren't going to talk about this. So if y'all don't know, I'm sorry, I'm throwing it out there. But do you know what the prices are now compared to last year? Like, I was looking at ours, and ours have gone up 11%. So for those buyers that were waiting for the prices to come down, they haven't come down yet. So I think now they're starting to jump in and realize they better not wait anymore.
So interesting, in the Austin market, we're only at 3.2 months of inventory for this previous January that we just came out of. But our median home price is actually down by 4% year over year to $430. Of course, pricing in Austin really soared, and it needed to stabilize and correct after that crazy market. And so that's what we've experienced. But on the flip side, our average days on market is 86 days on market.
Oh.
Wow.
And we were down to, I think, 9 at one point.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So it kind of goes back to what you're saying. Things were staying on the market a while, but now you're starting to see multiple showings on each home. So you're starting to see that and those homes that are starting to sell.
I had one that at 1.2 that had been on the market for 265 days, got a full price cash offer right after the new year.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. That is awesome. So then what are you telling, say for buyers, what are you suggesting, Jorge?
For buyers, I'm really trying to like we said, not focus on the interest rates, focus on your affordability, your monthly payment, focus on what opportunities you have now. I mean, it's all about timing. So if you feel like the time is right now and that you're able to afford it with your closing costs and stuff, I say do it, because the demand is only going to increase as it continues into the spring, summer. It always
Yeah,
does
I
for us.
I agree with you. And I think it's funny. I was listening to a podcast with the guy who runs Housing Wire, which he definitely has his thumb on everything real estate. And it's hard to follow him because he's so smart and he talks at such a high level. But one of the things he said is that when people come to him and say, "Is now the right time for me to buy?" He says, "No, because if you have to ask me, I'm not owning this for you." And he's like, "But the person that comes in and says, 'Hey, I've got my down payment. I have my credit ready. I'm ready to buy.'" That's the person that's ready, ready to buy. Don't put it on somebody else. I mean, it is a responsibility that you have to understand when you're buying a home. But if you want to buy, why in the hell wait?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? I mean,
Well,
inventory is still low.
to add to that, I mean, and to answer your question too, we're seeing opportunities for buyers in our market that we have not seen in years. I mean, before the pre-pandemic boom too, we're seeing, we have so much more room for negotiations. A lot of people are asking for closing cost incentives, whether they use it for a rate buy down or otherwise. And there's a lot of opportunity in the market. I tell people all the time, the history of real estate in the U.S. shows us that prices only ever go up outside of periods of technical correction. And if you can be a buyer in those periods of technical correction, that's when you're going to get the best deal.
That is so smart. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, well, I've never met anybody that said, "I am so thankful I sold that house when I did." Right? Most people are saying, "Oh, if I had kept the house that I bought 10
Right.
years ago," because
Right.
now, it was 200,000 then, now it's 600,000 or whatever. It's
Right.
kind of funny, but I see it. I've got Linda Wells and Rich and Kelly Phillips. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, tell us what you're seeing in your market and what advice you're giving your buyers." I'm just interested to see what other people are saying in other locations. So then what about sellers? What are you telling your sellers, Jorge?
So I actually just went on a listing appointment on Saturday for past clients of mine. And I told them that we still want to be priced right at the market with market conditions. We
Right.
don't want to ask for the moon and shoot for the stars and then get disappointed that we're not even getting traction through the door. They luckily totally agreed. They're not looking to get something that's unattainable for their home. And they really were in a good plan of being able to list sooner rather than later, which is awesome, because if I told them if you wait later, in the suburbs district that we were in, that their home is in, you're only going to have more competition down the road.
That is
Everybody waits until at least for the single family market down here, they wait until kids are closer to out of school to get them to list the house and get the process started. But then I told them, we looked at, okay, what is available between this point and this point of our price range of where we're going to list the home, and your house would blow the competition out of the water. So why not go ahead and move forward with it if you are ready to do so, and list it now versus waiting.
Exactly. And Linda, I think that is what we just said, 100% agreed. Go ahead. If you're buying a house, go ahead and do it now, refinance later, because prices are going to go up. So agreed with you. And then, I tell everybody it's super important to get your house ready, right? Price is obviously really important, but it's also go ahead, let's get your home staged. Let's pressure wash the front. Let's clean up those flower beds and put some pops of color, because right now everything's brown and ugly. At least here it is. So go ahead and start adding that color, getting it clean, getting it spruced up, get it ready. But absolutely don't wait for everybody else to get listed.
Right.
The inventory is low right now. Why wouldn't you want to be the only one listed in your area?
And that curb appeal is still so important, because actually, oddly enough, those people that I just went and visited for, I said, we need fresh mulch everywhere, and don't get the mulch that looks darker because they had just painted their house like kind of dark gray and accents. I said, you want to add some color to the yard. You want people to be able to walk in and have a good impression right off the bat, and get excited to be able to see what's through those doors.
I tell everybody that they're going to find your home on the internet, and then they're going to do a drive-by, right? And when they do the drive-by, you have to give them a reason to want to come in. And if it looks dark and dingy and dirty, that is their first indication. They automatically think that's what the inside of your house looks like as well.
Right.
Yeah, well, and I think you make an excellent point too, because with sellers here, I think if you want to get, oh, I'm so sorry. Sam, can you get the door? Sorry. But I think if you want to try to be at the top end of the price band for your community, you do have to have a perfected presentation.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Excuse me, guys.
You were fine. So, and Jorge, you've got Rich over there said he agrees with you about pricing. Absolutely. He also says to come on in, so that's funny. But I think the presentation is super important. I think pricing is super important. We come in there and make it staged right, because I think the first impression, they do a drive-by that determines if they want to come inside or not. And then when they get close and they get in on your front porch, you need to have the spider webs off. You need to have the front porch really pressure washed and cleaned up, because I tell everybody it takes me 5 or 6 seconds to fiddle with the lockbox to get it open. Right. Not very long, but it's long enough that they are sitting like
You can blame John Teel for this, for the record. That's for real.
But they're sitting there looking around the front porch, and they're seeing all. Hey, Dad.
Oh my God, I'm like so mortified right now.
Don't, but I hope he's walking. His foot, ankle, leg, whatever it was, is okay.
Oh, he's walking on it now. I mean, he's still limping around a little bit, but he is doing like so much better. He's doing great.
Good. Awesome. Good. Okay, so what were you saying? What do you tell sellers?
I was just saying, if you want to be at the top end of the price band for where our market is currently, then you do have to work really hard to perfect that presentation of the property. Obviously, that's where we add a lot of value to our sellers.
Right.
But and I kind of stress that you have to perfect the presentation, especially if you have active competition in your neighborhood that's really similar.
That's 100%. You're right. And if you want to be the top of the price band, it needs to look according.
Yeah, it absolutely does. The other thing that I'm telling sellers too is, a lot of them are understanding what is going on in the market, especially after we talk a little bit about it. But a lot of them are, if they're not buying here in Austin with me, then they're buying somewhere else. And I'm like, look, sure, you may not be getting as much on the sell side, but if we were in that crazy market, you'd be paying it out on the buy side anyways.
Right. That you're 100%. I agree with you 100%. You can't sell high and expect to buy low. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it is, it is what it is. But if you want to sell high, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing both of you say is get your house ready, price it right, and list it now. Don't wait for the spring market. Is that pretty accurate?
Yep.
Yeah. If the timing works for them, then absolutely.
I 100% agree. And the next part of ours is talking about agents and advice for agents. But I want to be clear too, the reason why I do these lives every Monday at 5 is to meet agents like you two and get to hear about your market, because RE/MAX is a huge brand. And in doing this, I am building an incredible referral network. So for any of my clients out there, if you're going to move anywhere in the United States, we've got you covered.
Absolutely.
So if you're moving out of Austin and want to move to Wilmington, I'm your girl.
Yeah,
or Fort Lauderdale, Jorge's your guy.
But what I love about that too is like we can refer to, I could refer to either of you with 100% confidence, knowing that my clients will be more than taken care of, but will have an excellent experience like through and through.
Absolutely. And Eric is my friend Eric that just mentioned down here. He's coming to Wilmington on Thursday, and we're going to meet out for drinks Thursday night.
Oh, nice.
With his wife.
Nice.
So super excited to get to meet him in Northern Virginia. But so what is the advice that you're giving agents? Like if you could either give yourself advice from 5 years ago, things you would do differently, or what would you give advice to agents in today's market on what they need to do?
Well, personally, I spent a lot of 23 really investing time and resources into loving on my SOI and my top 50 past client database. And, continuing that into 2024, obviously, but just nurturing those connections, I think is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of questions that I get, seems like the same question I get is how often do I call my database and what do I say? So what do you think, Hope or Jorge?
I've got kind of a system in place where really everyone in my top 50 should be receiving some sort of touch from me that's not just like HomeBot or something automatic
Right.
at least once a month. That could be a personal note, a pop by, a phone call, or a text message, getting face to face for coffee or lunch. But I've kind of got a system in place where, you know, certain people get pop bys in the first quarter, second quarter, etc. And really keeping it organized for me keeps it more consistent. And that is the key.
I 100% agree. You need some sort of CRM so you know what you're doing for each client. And I agree. What about you, Jorge?
Well, and
Advice.
one thing that I would really tell agents is, you know, there's so many ways to be able to get your book of business built up successfully. But in this market that we're having, at least down here in Florida, with ever changing insurance laws and condo laws, you need to know your stuff and you need to do your due diligence as much as possible. I go through so many steps before I even show somebody a property because I want to make sure, okay, they actually can qualify for this property. This property, you know, this condo is not going through assessments or litigation or anything that would then cause them to not be able to make that their home. The last thing I would want to do is go and show somebody a property and then the lender comes back and says, well, this isn't going to work because X, Y, and Z. So I'm always.
So you don't want to build up their hopes.
Exactly.
And then they fall in love with a property they can't buy. That's really smart.
Yeah. So I am always at least communicating with their mortgage lenders beforehand, saying, here's a copy of the budget. Here's the reserves, you know, take a look at it. Does everything look good to you? Because while I could take a look at it, it's not my expertise. That's why we have so many professionals in a real estate transaction that really specialize in every kind of aspect. So I'm doing as much of that in the upfront to just make sure that, you know, we can live up to our clients' expectations and not disappoint them.
Yeah, that's
some
right.
news after the fact.
Agreed. And that's what Jason's saying. Professionals do their homework. Agents just open the door.
Yep.
Like,
That's true.
I agree with that. So then in wrapping up, we're wrapping up kind of early, but I'm sure everybody else likes it because they always tell me that they watch the first 20 minutes and not after that. So in wrapping up, advice to buyers, if I heard you right, both, it's don't focus on the interest rates, focus on the mortgage that you can afford. And if it's the right time for you, go ahead and buy because prices are still continuing. And you're right, Hope, in some areas they're leveling out and they're kind of correcting, but in the longevity, they always go up, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at 5 or 10 years, so why wait? And then for sellers, get your house ready. Get it staged, get it the yard cleaned, get the curb appeal up, and price it right.
Presentation and price always has been the most important things for sellers to really focus on. If you don't have presentation or the price right, you're not going to get people in through that door.
Yeah. 100%.
That is so true. And I tell people, odors and stains, people have a hard time getting over, right? I mean, I go to a house and they've got all these litter boxes. I'm like, you know, like we got to figure out something. We have to figure out something, but 100% agreed. And then advice to agents would be what you said to do your homework, right? Before you show a home or before you go on a listing appointment. And Hope you said focus on your top 50 in your database to get business.
Yeah, just nurturing your SOI. And also agent to agent connections too, if that is a pillar of your business.
Yeah, 100%. So how many pillars of your business do you guys have? And then
I really focus the most on my top two, which is my SOI and my agent to agent referrals. I'm kind of toying around with a third pillar, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to commit to that direction. It's through Google LSA or local services ads.
Yeah.
But I really focus hard on agent to agent connections and of course nurturing my database.
Yeah, I think that's really good. What about you, Jorge? Do you have anything different?
Those same two are my two. And, you know, I'm not a pay for lead click kind of person as far as Zillow, Realtor.com. I don't put any money into that, but definitely something like Google Local Services ads is something that's definitely worth looking at, because people, I mean, think of any time that you're going to go somewhere or look for something, you go to Google. I mean, so
Yeah, I get some of my best leads from the Google service ads.
yeah.
Absolutely. And they're relatively inexpensive, but it just does elevate your name and what you do in Google, which I think is important. And then this year I've added on expired listings. So it was something in my pillar of business years in the past
Mhm.
that I haven't done in a while because you didn't see expired listings, but you are starting to see a little bit of them now. So we'll see how that goes.
And you're
Yeah.
seeing them because people aren't pricing or presenting them properly. And that's
Right.
why they would
Amen.
expire before.
That's right. Price
People
and
get away.
presentation.
2021, 2022, people could get away with trying to sell whatever they could. I mean, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, as they would say.
Yes.
For
Yes.
$500,000.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad we're not like that anymore, because that was
Me too.
insane.
No, it was not. It was not enjoyable.
It was a tough market for everybody. I mean,
Yes. Agreed. Well, love y'all.
Thanks for
sorry
having us.
about the dad interruption.
Tell your dad we said hey. And I'm glad he's walking. He
Yeah.
no longer has that little, what was it? Like thing they put his knee on and would scoot around in.
The knee cart. Yeah.
The knee cart. Knew what it looked like. I didn't know what it was called. That's right. Well, tell him I'm glad he got rid of the knee cart and that he is good.
Yes, I will let him know.
Absolutely. And I will see everybody else back on Monday at 5.
We can't
Thanks,
wait.
Jennifer.
Thanks for having
Bye.
us.
Yeah, thank you for being on. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye.